Hello and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia Makina's route. Last time, a strange council of somewhat familiar faces were held in the school as Makina and Yuuji went out for a snack. The people at this council were in agreement that Makina and Yuuji's relationship was absolutely okay with all of them. So, now let's continue. That wasn't nearly enough, you know. A grown body like mine can't get by one lousy taiyaki. I'm suffering a severe case of malnutrition. I think a single pastry is more than enough of a snack, unless you want the money bawling you out when you can't eat dinner. In the first place, I'm not too enthusiastic about the whole snacking concept. Eating outside your scheduled mealtime throws off your body's rhythms and can contribute to deterioration in an overall physical condition. If at all possible, I'd like to teach the girl not to indulge herself except as an occasional reward. Also, if you eat too many of those things, that rounded face of yours is going to end up getting even more circular. It just looks roundish, you know? It ain't really that round. I reach out and pinch Makina's puffy little cheeks between my fingers. Her skin's smooth, but sticks tenaciously to my fingers, almost like an infant's. You can tell just from squeezing her face that the girl's probably nourished. No doubt thanks to Amane's thorough nutritional management. Well, the girl's not a fighter pilot or anything, so I suppose putting on a few extra pounds wouldn't pose any real problems. Maybe I order an ND28 red? Her cheeks still pinched between my fingers, Makina mumbles some variety of question. I tilt my head in puzzlement. Something about a 22 gauge ride? Never heard of a crowd-controlled shotgun with such a strange barrel size. Some new Western model? Do you hate chubby girls, Papa? Maybe I ought to try that 22 stage diet everybody's talking about. What? A diet? Oh, well, there's no need to force yourself to lose weight unless it's posing some inconvenience or health risk. But the way my belly bumps out a little starting to bug me. You're all flat because you haven't developed your abdominal muscles. Want to try some simple training with me starting tomorrow? Oh, that's a cool idea. What a nice thought. Would you perhaps allow me to participate as well? Oh, Sachi. Welcome back, Master and young Miss. Holding her bamboo broom at one side, Sachi bows reverently. Master? Yes, I am your daughter's servant after all. Oh, we're still doing that, are we? Yo, Sachi, I have returned. Welcome back. Oh, that was Makina. My bad, sorry. Yo, Sachi, I have returned. Welcome back, young miss. Shall it be a bath, your dinner, or perhaps my body? Your body, wench! Qa'Rajh, surely you jest. You two sure get along. Sachi and Makina have always been friendly, of course. But for some reason, something seems a little off today. Can't quite put my thumb on it, but Sachi seems oddly tentative. Almost. They're squawking and messing around like always, but somehow Sachi's treating Makina a little more gingerly than usual. It feels a little artificial somehow, like I'm watching a play. Don't be hard to get, you little strumpet. Huh? What? Maki-chan, you're really taking off. Why, my underwear? Don't pull my underwear, it's going to come off. You're a good girl, aren't you, Sachi? Don't struggle and it'll be all over soon enough. Just lie back and think of England. Well, it's fine, right? I'll keep your cute little baby in clothing. Maybe even send it to school. Oh, hey. That's far enough, old man.
Owie! Hey, that really hurt.
Well, I figured I needed to stage an intervention before you did something you'd live to regret. And you, Sachi, how about fighting back a little? Look, your underwear's off.
I'm sorry for making such a disgraceful spectacle of myself.
He totally saw him.
I'm not embarrassed in the slightest. It's true, absolutely true. This doesn't bother me at all. In fact, I am perfectly willing to set aside some time at a later date for a thorough private viewing, if you'd like.
Thanks for the offer, but I think I'll have to pass. Same as it ever was, huh? Was it just my imagination after all? Or so I thought. But now it's Michiru's turn.
Hey, Makina, you can borrow that manga you wanted to read. Oh, seriously? Thank you kindly, Dietrich. Who's Dietrich supposed to be? Whatever, don't go eating candy while you read and getting it all sticky, you got that? Thanks, don't worry, I'll read it right away.
Good as a word, Makina drops herself right down onto the lobby sofa and begins flipping through the manga, swinging her slippers loosely back and forth from the tips of her toes.
Stare.
You need something?
Okay, look, I loaned your daughter my manga, right? Don't you have anything to say to me?
Sure. Thanks.
Wait, thanks? That's it?
What else do you want me to do?
If you want to stroke my head, I'll allow it, alright?
What?
Don't get me wrong though, it's not like I lent her the manga because I wanted you to pet me or anything.
Don't quite follow the logic there, but I think I get the general idea. When I casually reach out toward Michiru's head, the girl twitches like a startled rabbit and quickly takes a defensive posture.
Ugh.
What kind of incoherent thought process leads you to ask for a pat on the head, then try to ward it off? Ignoring Michiru's tense body language, I grab a hold of her cranium like an NBA player seizing a ball, then proceed to roughly scratch my fingers through her hair. Appreciate it, Michiru.
Yeah.
It's not like this is the first time Michiru has acted strangely, but once again I felt something slightly off about her behavior this evening. And it's not just Sachi and Michiru. Normally Sakagi excuses herself post-haste the instant Makina is in the vicinity, but for some reason she's staying put today. Sakagi, my friend, why are you here? You do say some strange things at times. Is it that unusual for me to be reading a book in the lobby? No, not really, but normally you'd flee once Makina arrives. I do not flee. I simply excuse myself when it gets too noisy to read in peace, and also... Sakagi shoots Makina a glance out of the corner of her eye. The girl is sitting quietly on the sofa, knees folded in front of her, restlessly moving her eyes right and left across Michiru's manga. Even Iro-Susan's harmless enough when she's reading.
All done!
That was fast.
Hey, Chiro, where's the next volume?
Michiru's not around anymore. I gave her a little pat on the head after she squeaked bye and ran off at a sprint for some unknown reason. Probably back in her room, I guess.
That wasn't nearly enough reading material. First the taiyaki, now this. What an ultra unsatisfying day.
I suppose there's nothing for it. Here, you can read this.
Oh, what's this? BL again?
What do you mean, again? It's not as if I'm always reading BL.
So what is it then? One of them wish fulfillment suckers where you're vaguely frumpy heroine so it suddenly gets super popular with tons of hotties for no apparent reason?
Yes, that's what I've got today, and if you don't like it, you don't have to read it.
I'll totally read it. Let me have this mysterious tale of mediocre maiden who only needs to sit back and relax to get a dozen of sexy guys falling in her lap.
I can't say I'm entirely satisfied with the way you phrased that request, but fine, I'll let you borrow it. Can you try to read it quietly, please?
Yes!
Hey, Sakagi, tell me something. Yes? What is BL, this BL of which you speak? Well, it's short for Bo? Just shut up, will you? People are trying to read. Huh? Wait, what did I do this time?
Okay, so BL books are stimulating stories of young men making out with each other.
Oh. You didn't have to explain that.
Yuuji's always got something interesting to read, you know. That dog book I borrowed the other day was pretty cool too.
A dog book? Like a photo collection of puppies or something?
Nah, that ain't it. It was a novel written from the doggy's point of view. Poor guy got deliberately starved as a puppy so they could turn him into a war dog. The ending was pretty dang touching, you know.
Oh? Like Makina says, Sakagi's taste in literature is more broad than you might think. Even now, I'm still surprised by the stuff I find picking through her leftovers. But at any rate, they do say military dogs have to be constantly starving for something. Can't be relied on otherwise.
Guess what though? The war dog retires from the army with lots of medals, gets taken in by a normal family, and ends up protecting the little girl by...
Excuse me, spoiling a book is very bad manners, you know.
Alright, sorry about that.
Geez, just sit there quietly and read, alright?
Yes!
Honestly, I'm a little surprised.
By what?
Seeing you have a halfway normal conversation with Makina.
It's not as though our interactions consist solely of me being harassed, you know. I can give as well as I get. Also, I don't dislike Ira-Susan half as much as you seem to think.
I see.
Well, not that I'm denying I have a difficult time dealing with her.
Sounds complicated.
Seriously though, what's going on here? I have the distinct feeling every last one of our classmates are being strangely kind to Makina today.
Wah! I've done eating all I can eat. My stomach's full to the brim.
You really gobbled that down. Did you even chew before you swallowed?
And you're not actually done yet, are you? Now clean your plate, Makina.
What? But my tummy's bursting at the seams. Behold this tummy.
Oh, it's bulging.
I know, right? If I eat any more, I'm gonna get super popular with the chubby chasing community.
Guess there's nothing for it. This is your fault, Yuuji. You shouldn't let her have a snack between meals like that.
Yeah, my bad.
Well, it's no big deal. Makina, go ahead and get in the bath.
Yosh, Papa, come in with me and wash my hair.
What, you think Yuuji's going to barge in during the ladies' bathing time? I'll come wash your head once I've put away the dishes, so just run along and wait patiently.
Yosh!
And don't bring any toys other than your duck.
Yosh!
Honestly, look at all this. What a waste. With a single remorseful sigh, Amanda begins to tidy up the tableware in a vaguely motherly manner. Every few seconds, she absent-mindedly grabs a little of Makina's leftover food and tosses it in her mouth.
Now I get it.
Get what?
That oversized body of yours, Makina's leftovers, are clearly to blame.
What? Was I seriously eating just now?
Completely unconscious, huh? No wonder you ended up that way.
Well, I just have a really hard time letting food go to waste, I guess.
Nothing to be ashamed of. Given that, you sure let Makina off the hook awfully easy today.
Normally, Amanda forced the girl to finish her food, even if it meant enduring hours of begging and whining.
For some reason, every last one of you people seems to have gone soft on Makina today. Did something happen while we weren't around?
I figures. Most of our girls are pretty clumsy about this sort of thing, aren't they? Anyway, it's not like anything happened, but, well, no, I guess something sort of did. After school today, we had a group meeting to register our opinions on your new relationship with Makina.
Ah, so that's why you all vanished so abruptly.
Well, yep. Anyway, we more or less decided that it was okay with us. Everybody pledged to watch over you guys with lukewarm semi-tenderness.
That more or less part bothers me a little, but everyone approved?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think they had any real reservations in the first place. It's just that nobody's here got much experience with this sort of thing, so they didn't quite know how to deal with it. In any case, nobody wanted to actually interfere.
No kidding. That's something to be grateful for.
I'll just let that... There we go. I mean, you decided to do everything you can for Makina's sake, right? Nobody's going to get in the way.
I see.
Once a man sets his mind on something, he better stick to his guns. Understand, mister?
I'll bear that in mind.
With that, the conversation ceases, and I simply watch Amanda from behind as she quietly cleans the dishes. From far away, there's a piercing sound of a siren. Instantly, beads of cold sweat form on my brow. With an odd sense of detachment, I find myself reflecting on my newfound devotion to something other than the national interest. A dog raced for his country, trying to accomplish something of its own free will? Hard to imagine that can amount to anything much. But I suppose it has to be more meaningful than getting some cheap metal pinned on your collar.
For some reason, the burning wave of nausea seems to recede a little more easy than usual. In all things, the fundamentals are what matters most, followed closely by experience. Or so my master used to tell me. When the shit really hits the fan and you're lying face down in the mud about ready to just give up, your fundamental physical strength and the mental toughness you gain on the battlefield are what allow you to pull yourself up and keep struggling forward. I guess a way of thinking must have rubbed off on me at some point. At the time, I absolutely hated that brutal exercise routine she imposed on me, but now I feel downright uneasy if I miss even a single day. Kasami-san, please wait. Hearing a vaguely dopey cry of distress from behind, I slow to a halt and look back down the road. Sachi's jogging sluggishly toward me with one arm around Makina's shoulder, practically dragging the girl along. Finally caught up. In between gasps of breath, the maid morosely mumbles, although we were 3 laps behind. Meanwhile, Makina collapses to her hands and knees, whimpering pitifully. Bleh, I'm gonna be sick. Running first thing in the morning is really freaking rough. My sides are screaming. Bleh. Clutching her twitching stomach and moaning like an out-of-tune trombone, Makina stares up at me with eyes full of bitter reproach. But she's the one who declared a war on blubber and demanded to tag along with my running from now on. Don't see how she has anyone but herself to blame. Going straight to 5 kilometers was clearly a bit too much. Was it? As someone who runs a full 16 kilometers every single morning, 5 seemed like a pretty generous concession on my part. Hell, the routine was even tougher back at my old school. We'd all get drummed out of bed at 6 in the morning and gather in front of the dorm for roll call, followed by a sprint to the warehouse to receive 3.5 kilogram weight, which we would proceed to lug around for the duration of a mandatory 16-kilometer run. And when, eager to ditch our aggravating burdens, we finally caught sight of the exercise ground designated as our goal, the relief would often only last for a moment. When the squad leader was in a bad mood, he'd instantly bellow out, "Right face!" to send us running back to the dorm, still carrying the damn weights. More often than not, there'd be another "right face" waiting for us when we got there. On top of that, every time he randomly blew his shrill little whistle, we were expected to break into an all-out sprint, so it was near impossible to pace ourselves. On the other hand, I guess that's not really a reasonable standard of comparison. I'm sorry? It's nothing. You're right. Let's focus on getting you two able to run a single decent lap around the school. It's only 3.2 kilometers or so. Indeed, that sounds like a more realistic goal. I'll work my butt off for my dream of a perfect Armani-style body. Well, I did have a hard time calling Armani perfect, in terms of body fat percentage, but whatever. For starters, how about wearing some vaguely appropriate clothing? You could have at least thrown on sneakers, a sweatshirt or something. But you said we're gonna take it easy, Papa. Even so, casual clothes and boots aren't exercise gear. On top of which, you haven't shined those boots lately, have you? I should be able to see my face in those things. If this was my old school, you'd be doing 200 push-ups right about now. Well, that's because Amanda-san thought they look cooler when they are a little beaten up, and purposely didn't clean them. Not that you're any better. Still in maid uniform as always. Indeed, a specialized exercise maid uniform to be specific. They constructed entirely from Ultra Dry Max, the patented super quick drying fabric. By encouraging rapid evaporation of sweat, rapid rises in body temperature are quickly alleviated. The design concept was cooler than naked, apparently. Tell me something, Sachi. Just how many different maid uniforms do you own? Let's see. There's my intermediate. I like that pun. For everyday use, the active for exercise, the tropical for summer outings, the heavy stone cold weather model, the assault for counter-insurgency operation, the all-white medic for nursing duties, and the conservative for use in ceremonial occasions and funeral rites. In total, 7 different varieties. Wait, what was that? Counter-insurgency? Yes, it seems to have been sewn from strengthened aramid fiber, and although I haven't put the matter to the test, my model can apparently stop bullets up to 9 mm without difficulty.
It has also been strengthened significantly against bladed weapons, formerly considered something of a weak point of the design.
What kind of battle-mate need a uniform like that? I like the term battle-mate. I'd like to see that class in a game. Like, you get special bonus points for using a broom or something like that. I would love that. That would be awesome and silly in every single way. I mean, where did you even buy that thing?
I had it custom made for her, you know.
Why?
Well, I had initially attempted to purchase a stock of uniforms via the internet, but there was such a wild range of variation in the prices. Some were as cheap as 10,000 yen, others nearly 200,000.
Right. When you're confused and don't know what to buy, just go for the most expensive one you can find, right? That's how it is. First we tried hitting up some supplier that Yuuji's family uses for their stuff, but what was it again?
The housekeepers employed by Sakaki-san's family eschewed the classic maid design in favor of an outfit more resembling a cafe waitress uniform. And unfortunately, the supplier informed us she has no prior experience in making maid uniforms.
So, out of the goodness of my heart, I got this manufacturer my family knows to make a full set.
However, the manufacturer in question happened to specialize in flight jackets, precision wristwatches, and similar military-oriented apparel.
So, all of a sudden you end up with a bunch of mil-spec maid uniforms, huh?
Now you got the idea. But hey, that assault sucker comes as a set with a gas mask that'll get you through bioterror attack in one piece. Hell of a bonus, right?
And when is she going to use that exactly?
It's come in handy when duty calls me to clean toilets with air pollution exceeding contamination level 8.
A gas mask, eh? I remember getting drilled on putting those things on quickly back at my old school.
Yes, it was back in middle school when they started that. I remember clumsily pulling an M40 over my face, then being forced to run a marathon with it on. Pretty rough even by their standards. Even after returning to Japan, I trained numerous times with a Model 4 protective mask. Usually this involved rushing into a tent full of insecticide fumes. The instructor would bellow, "Situation gas!" as we fumbled to get the masks out of our waist pouches and onto our faces in 8 seconds or less. Not the most exciting training, but simple skills like that can easily make the difference between life and death in the field. After ejecting the gas inside the mask and confirming it an airtight seal, we'd pair off with a buddy to make sure theirs was really on properly. At this point, it's kind of a fun memory. I'm aware it's extremely rude of me, but might I ask you a personal question?
What do you want to know?
It's about the school you were enrolled in previously, Kasami-san. What kind of place was it exactly?
I've been wondering about that myself, you know.
What kind of place? Kind of a tricky question, but let's see. I put a hand on my chin and considered the matter, turning my eyes away from Sachi's curious gaze. I was what they call a self-supporting student. I was already working at a middle school age, but since I was still in the compulsory education period, my employer was kind enough to send me to school at night. That employer that I mentioned was an international enterprise with its headquarters in the States, so naturally the school they paid for me to attend to was American as well. I spent the first half of junior high in San Diego, California. Then for the latter half I was moved to Quantico, Virginia. When they finally decided to ship me back to the Japanese branch, I ended up getting transferred to yet another school over here. Hell of a transition actually, nothing at all like how things were in America. Less of a pain in the ass in that people weren't inviting me to barbecues every weekend, but you could really see the difference in how seriously the student approached it.
How did they differ specifically?
Not easy to explain, but maybe this will give you the general idea. In America, the whole point was training us to be useful in the field, where Japan was all about training us to pass the tests. Basically, in Japan, the inspectors were the only thing anybody cared about.
Inspections?
There's something like a test. If it wasn't on test, they really didn't give a damn. They'd give us little hands-on experience, but rarely bothered to explain what we were supposed to be learning. At worst, they taught us outright nonsense. About the only things America and Japan had in common were crew cuts and the shitty food.
That's, what can I say? Thank you for your service?
Well, it's not that I was actually in the service or anything.
But it wasn't a normal school, right?
I've been feeling a little unsure about our point of reference in that area for a while now. Mind if I ask you to something as well?
By all means.
Is this Mihama Academy of ours a normal school?
Way to ask a really awkward question, Papa.
Well, if the question seems awkward, I guess the answer is clear enough.
I'm not sure if this is the best way to put it, but I think the fact that we can all attend Mihama Academy normally makes it a rather abnormal school.
School can't exactly be normal when all the kids in it ain't.
So you're actually aware you're not normal, huh?
Well, duh. I mean, you wouldn't have become my papa if I were, right?
I guess you might be right about that.
It's largely because of Makina's overwhelming, this kid's hopeless aura that I developed my initial interest in her. The more we talked, the more I realized just how badly she needed someone to set her straight. And in time, her sheer cheerful obliviousness inspired an uneasy variety of protective feelings. What's this girl going to do without me around? Didn't exactly have myself down as the nurturing type. But maybe the way I've had defending the nation beaten into my bones is part of the reason I felt the need to protect this carefree, airheaded creature.
But that doesn't mean you can just sit back and rely on me. True safety is only possible through accurate situational awareness, moderate caution, and readiness to defend yourself when push comes to shove. Sure, plenty of people sit back and take the protection of others for granted. Easy enough to become a spectator to your own life, throwing tomatoes and booing when things go wrong. But we're going to take a different approach. While protecting you, I'll shape you into a woman with the skill and confidence to solve even the most difficult problems on your own.
What?
No whining. If you want to call yourself my daughter, then you're going to become the best of the best. Bear in mind that your failure is my shame. Do I make myself clear? If you understand, then respond.
Hooah!
Alright then, let's start with 30 sit-ups.
Hooah!
Ranger Kaminen, you're Ranger Irisu's buddy. Assist her.
Hooah! After spreading out a mat on the ground, Makina plunks herself down on her back and bends her knees. Sachi quickly kneels down to hold her ankles steady. Her eyes burning with determination, the girl links her hands behind her head and attempts her first sit-up, but...
Yoon!
Despite several seconds of intense effort, she only succeeds in wriggling around on the ground impotently. Eventually, the girl releases her head and reaches both trembling arms straight out towards Sachi. But this too proves ineffective at getting her upper body off the ground. Come on, Maki-chan, you haven't even managed one yet.
Yoon!
What's all this then? Were my instructions unclear? I didn't tell you to practice your telekinesis, did I? Let's see a damn sit-up already. Show me what you've got.
Hooah! Nwah! Quah!
She hasn't moved a single millimeter, has she? And I believe she just said "Blgah."
Don't really care about that, but Makina, you can't even manage a single sit-up? Guess I shouldn't be surprised, but seriously.
This is just how modern kids are, you know.
That really how it is?
For the record, sir, I can manage a sit-up or two.
In that case, let's have you show us how it's done. Makina, switch places with Sachi.
Yes.
After a little more squirming around, Makina pushes herself up off the ground and switches places with Sachi. How many do you want, sir?
How about 30 for starters? Shout hooah from the pit of your stomach on the way up. Help focus your body on working the abdominal muscles.
Yes, sir. Here goes. Hooah! Hooah! Hooah!
Ho.
Sachi repeats her sit-ups with remarkably regular rhythm of a wind-up toy. It'd be insulting to even compare this effort to Makina's, but even by more general standards, it's quite the respectable pace for a young woman. Keep this up for about 30 reps, and she'd be right up there with your average WACC girl. But my admiration proves short-lived. After passing 20, Sachi's pace begins to slow precipitously.
What's wrong? Run out of momentum already? Some mate you are. Is that all your devotion to your master amounts to? Don't disillusion me. Show some guts, dammit. Guts!
As my abuse rains down from above, Sachi bites her lower lip fiercely.
Suck Jap! Bitch Jap!
You're a Jap yourself, you know.
Also, Amana's the only bitch we got around here.
Okay, that does it. Go have Amana give you a nice hard punch on the double.
Huh? Why?
Is this girl under the impression that the term bitch means something along the lines of sexy and cool? 30. I'm done. Hooah!
Alright, not exactly earning your salary, but a respectable effort. At the very least, it's 30 better than a certain doughy little pastry face managed.
Oh, that's harsh.
Why are you laughing? You do understand I'm talking about you, right?
I knew that most of our students were indoor types, but to be honest, I hadn't imagined things would be quite this awful. Not that I'm planning to start running my mouth about how soft kids are these days. Especially considering I'm still in that category myself, but Maki-chan did spend a very long time in the hospital. Perhaps it would be best to initially focus on regaining an average level of physical endurance.
You have a point. In that case, I guess strengthening the cardiovascular system comes first.
Yes, I can do that. People are always telling me I'm strong-hearted, you know.
I think they're probably just trying to find a nice way to say completely brazen, but whatever.
Well, anyway, let's go with some light cardio. No reason to stress those flimsy little joints. So, I'm thinking biking would be the best choice.
Of course, I don't plan to have the girl push herself up between two desks and pedal the empty air, so we're going to need an appropriate bike. If you're in need of a bicycle, I have one handy.
Is this small enough for Makina to use as well?
Yes, that shouldn't be an issue. It's a mini velo model with very small wheels. A cute little folding bike. I'm certain it would very much suit Maki-chan.
That thing comes as a set with your one maid uniform?
A maid uniform and bike set?
Indeed, apparently it can even be fixed in front of your harness for parachute drops. The manufacturer professes it to offer unmatched on-the-spot mobility for reconnaissance missions in enemy territory.
Okay, is this designer a little off in the head or something? Just what kind of hellish environments are these maids supposed to be working in?
Again, battle mates. Make it happen, somebody. Make a game with battle mates. Or even, heck, screw that. Make a game called Battle Mates and make it about mates in combat situation where they also have to clean. I don't know. I don't care how. Make it happen. I want to see that. I would throw money at that, even though I don't have a lot. Make it happen.
Kasami-san, you're simply clinging to outdated prejudices. The age in which maids could get by as mere domestic helpers has long since passed.
As far as I knew, we hadn't yet reached the age in which maids are expected to suppress insurgents or perform solo recon missions behind enemy lines. Did something happen to Japan while I was away? Well, whatever. In any case, Makina, let's get you started on some aerobic exercise with the bike.
I've never rode a bike before.
Say what?
Like I said, I never even rode a bike. I had a driver and car and all, so I didn't really need to. And nobody ever taught me in the first place.
I see.
It's extremely easy to forget when you're looking at this stumpy little dough face. But come to think of it, Makina is technically a little miss. Not really that surprising that she wasn't biking around all over the place.
Guess we'll have to start with teaching you to ride then.
As I massaged the corners of my eyes, Makina thrust her right hand into the air.
Well, let's take it easy, alright? One step at a time.
Yeah, there's not exactly any other choice.
Once she masters the bicycle, will parachuting be next on the agenda?
Somehow, I don't think she'll be needing that particular skill.
I may have become Makina's father, but that doesn't mean much of anything has changed. The one noticeable difference is that she's now calling me Papa. A little embarrassing on the receiving end, but that's nothing new. Oni-chan just felt just as ticklish. That same afternoon, JB gave me a call on my cell. It was a very brief conversation. Just told me she delivered all the material she could on Irisu Makina to the Academy administration. In other words, if you want to know that badly, go ask Chizuru. Accordingly, I'm currently making my way to the principal's office. The sparkling floor of the hallway seems to have been thoroughly waxed recently, as every step I take produces a loud squeak. A modern take on the Nightingale floor, perhaps. What a reprehensible woman.
Chizuru, you're in here?
Excuse me, but this isn't your girlfriend's apartment. Don't just barge in here like you own the place. How many times do I have to tell you to knock before?
What difference does it make? Hurry up and take a shower. I'll be waiting.
Look, mister.
Just a joke. You already know why I'm here, right?
If you keep toying around with older women like that, one day you're going to get what's coming to you.
Am I? Well, feel free to elaborate on this theory next time I take you out to dinner.
As if you have the slightest intention of asking me to a meal.
It was an indirect way of saying I don't want to hear it. Too subtle for you?
You really are a hopeless, nasty young man.
JP got in touch, didn't she? Let's see the document about Makina.
No way.
That won't do. How can I get you to show them to me?
Apologize for your constant rudeness and promise that you'll listen to what your teacher says from now on. Then I'll let you see them.
That's an abuse of authority, Chizuru.
Yes, indeed, that it is. And I don't even care. I'll use every card I've got. I've had it up to here.
I see. Ends justify the means, eh? In that case, I guess I'll have to use every card I've got as well. That alright with you?
What are you planning to do?
My master once beat a certain technique into me, a method guaranteed to make even the most stubborn woman spill her guts. It's a lengthy process and frankly something of a pain to execute, but it seems I have no choice.
But wait a second, okay, time out, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is this method, somehow related to Eros?
Tricky question. Interpretations tend to vary fairly widely depending on personal proclivities. Come to think of it, back in the old days, I once made JP apologize to me in tears for using the method in question. She never mentioned it.
I think I remember her saying, if that kid starts demanding crazy things in a sweet voice, run, don't walk, or something of the sort.
Might be a little odd to say this myself, but that would probably be wise. If you're going to run, kick off those shoes first. With heels like those, I'll catch you so quickly it won't even be any fun.
You're not going to hurt me, right?
Come on, do I look like such a cruel man? If anything, in a few hours, you'll have a pleasant new perspective on the whole concept of pain. Nothing to worry about.
For some reason, that only sent a whole new wave of worry creeping up my spine.
On that note, Chizuru, I got some good news for you. For a limited time only, we happen to be offering a special sale. Fork over Makina's dossier and all of your worries will disappear. Pretty nice deal, right?
Fine, have it your way. I'll get them out for you. Just be patient for a minute.
You have my sincere gratitude for your time.
For a dossier, I'm afraid it's nothing that special. Irisu-san's family takes his privacy quite seriously. I myself learned most of what I know only after asking Haruhira-san. As she speaks, Chizuru presses her thumb against a fingerprint scanner and unlocks a small safe installed in her cabinet. And even she only had a limited amount of information. Yes, it's to be expected from a clan so deeply rooted in the shady side of the political world. Okay, this is everything. It can't leave the room, so read it here. The A4-sized envelope she hands me has the words, "Removal strictly forbidden," scratched across the front in red pen. I'm not looking for this intelligence in Irisu, you know. I'm only interested in the information on the individual Irisu Makina. Well, learning about Irisu Makina means learning about the Irisu clan. After all, she was at the very heart of their domestic feud 8 years ago.
Domestic feud?
I'm not particularly knowledgeable about the details myself, and those documents are little more than a rough summary. But it seems there was a difference of opinion between the head of the family and Irisu-san's father.
Well, I suppose that's worth reading.
Are you serious about Irisu-san?
What do you mean?
You seem to have promised to become her father rather casually. That's not going to be quite as simple as you think.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to understand that. I got a vague feeling this is going to be a lot more troublesome job than I expected. Even so, if Makina needs me, I want to do what I can for her.
You might come to regret that, you know.
I'm aware, but when and where it seems necessary, I take action first and sort out the pros and cons later. That's how dogs like us are trained. If you find someone who needs help in a place you are obligated to protect, just do what needs to be done. Simple as that.
Did you pick up this blunt force approach to life from the Americans?
How rude. I don't remember declaring I am a justice incarnate.
You shouldn't make Uncle Sam too angry, you know. He runs your parent company, remember?
I hear that corporations where employees don't badmouth the higher-ups tend to go bankrupt in no time.
You have a retort for everything, don't you? Just once, I'd like to see you at a loss for words.
I picked up my sharp tongue from the Americans.
Well, whatever. I'll put some coffee on, so take your time.
Appreciate it. I didn't know Yuuji actually drank coffee. Again with that subtle, mysterious bassline. Just as Chizuru warned me, the documents inside the envelope can't be called detailed by any stretch of the imagination. The reports mainly focus on the history of the Irisu family, tracing their consistently flourishing enterprises from the pre-war era to today, describing their clan structure and naming the houses considered their closest allies. In particular, the careful analysis of the current major players' thought processes and religious ideologies, with an eye toward the risk that they might pose to society, stands out as just the sort of meticulous work I'd expect from JB. Since the woman hates relying on personal impressions or speculation in her reports, it feels as though less reliable rumors have been intentionally omitted. While the information that's here appears to be solid, I can't deny that there isn't very much of it. The directly relevant material begins with a biography of Makina's grandfather, a former bureaucrat in the Ministry of Finance. Apparently he was something of a social climber, joining the family by marrying the daughter of a superior. Makina's own father likewise married into the family and took their name, but the real power in the Irisu clan was in the hands of his wife and mother-in-law. And those women, essentially the shadow leaders of the Irisu enterprises, made use of their enormous influence to enrich their family through arrangement tinted in an extremely dark shade of grey. When Makina's father realized that he'd been an unwitting participant in large-scale corruption, he took the Irisu's secret account book and tried to come in contact with the night show, but an unfortunate incident resulted in his death. Finishing the sentence as my voice trails off, Chizuru reaches out to offer me a steaming mug of coffee. The incident in question being the kidnapping of Mr. Irisu Masataka's daughter, Irisu Makina. I see. Accepting the mug from Chizuru, I continue flipping through the documents. A group of criminals who kidnapped Makina off the street on her way back from a language class submitted a ransom demand directly to her father. Just as they instructed, Mr. Masataka headed to the designated spot alone with the money, but was shot to death as he made the handoff. Ballistic investigation revealed only that the bullets were fired from an unregistered 9mm handgun, so even 8 years after the murder, no credible clues to their identity have been discovered. Following the murder, Irisu Makina was eventually rescued from the scene after spending 6 days there? That's correct. Still tied up just as the criminals had left her, Irisu-san spent 6 full days imprisoned with her father's corpse. When found, she was naturally very near her physical limits, but also suffering from severe emotional trauma. So that's why she was hospitalized. You could say that incident is the cause of the strange behavior you see in Irisu-san today. Before her hospitalization, she was such a remarkably gifted child as to be called a prodigy. But after the incident, it seems she spent 2 years in a completely uncommunicative state. It took another year after that before she could consistently answer yes or no questions, and 2 more before she could coherently put her thoughts into words. Yet another year passed before she once again became capable of expressing normal human emotion. In other words, it was only a few years ago that she gained the capacity for normal conversation. I see. Shutting the manila folder, I slip it back into the envelope and return it to Chizuru. Are you done already? Yep, I got the general idea. No need to keep going. You don't want to see anymore? What's that supposed to mean? Irisu-san's past does have similarities to your own, doesn't it? I was wondering if you were recalling some painful memories. I'm sorry. Is that the reason you were so reluctant to show me this? I suppose. I didn't exactly want to make you remember a past like that. Denying the past doesn't change who you are today. And thanks to my master, I'm still standing. I'm sorry, I'm going to ask a strange question. When all's said and done, can you look back and say, I'm glad I survived? Well, I got myself through plenty of situations where death might have been an easier choice. Guess I've been trained well enough to treasure survival for its own sake. Also, I still haven't found the reason I was born, and haven't even begun to repay the kindness of the woman who saved my life. So in that sense too, I'm glad I haven't ended up dead yet. I see. Sorry for asking the unreasonable. I drained the coffee Chizuru brewed for me to the dregs in a single gulp, then placed the empty cup on her desk. Kind of a shame though. You went out of your way to show me the dossier, but there was only one piece of information in the whole thing beyond what I already expected.
And what was that?
I'm a little surprised that Makina has a little sister. I'm positive that the girl was the only child.
They may be sisters, but it seems they have different fathers. I rather doubt it was a typical sibling relationship.
Well, before that, the idea of Makina as a big sister just seems wrong somehow.
True enough.
After thanking the principal for the information and her coffee, I promptly leave the office. As I stroll slowly down the hallway toward our classroom, I reconsider the intelligence once more. In the end, the information directly concerning Makina herself accounted for maybe a 15th of the total at best. In childhood, she was apparently so talented as to earn the label of prodigy. Hard to believe when looking at the airheaded doofus we know today. But when you give the matter a careful thought, some faint remnants of that brilliance have been in evidence every once in a while. From a very young age, Makina was raised reverently as a child genius, but most of her family was only really interested in converting that talent into hard cash. Same story everywhere you look, I guess. In a house filled with people who viewed her as nothing more than a tool, Makina's one and only true ally was her father. Irisu Masataka was an up-and-coming future elite who'd earned superb grades at top-flight national university, but unfortunately happened to suffer from a distinctly timid and unambitious personality. And ever since meeting Makina's mother in his school days, she'd apparently exercised an absolutely dominating influence over him. Given how faint of a heart the man was by nature, it's easy to imagine how anguished and torn he must have been when he discovered his family's deep involvement in large-scale corruption. In the end, he must have decided to live honestly for Makina's sake, even if it meant betraying the rest of his new family. But that was a mistake. Far too many important people would have found themselves in a seriously disadvantageous position if the Irisu clan's records were to be made public. Most likely, the for-profit kidnapping was a ruse devised by his own family, using his daughter as bait only to kill him in front of her eyes. A clueless bystander in all of this, Makina was left tied up in her prison for 6 days with her father's rotting corpse. Hardly surprising that her mind would be deeply damaged. I can't speculate on why they chose to sacrifice the main family's eldest daughter, but after the incident, Makina was removed from their natural position as the future leader of the clan. On paper, she's undergoing continuing medical care for an undisclosed illness, but in reality, she's been effectively disowned. Her younger sister has been given her place as the family's heiress. Her beloved father, the only ally she ever had in the world, died before her eyes, and then she was thrown out of her house as an unwanted child, huh? Pretty shitty luck all around. That said, I'm not about to let myself pity the girl. To be perfectly honest, this all sounds like a massive pain in the ass. On a purely practical level, it'll probably be wisest not to get too deeply involved. But running away at this point would be far too irresponsible. Misfortune isn't so unusual. I've had my share. The world's got quite a few people who didn't grow up under pleasant circumstances in it. But I was lucky enough to eventually meet my master, a person who decisively changed my life for the better. Her help became a huge turning point for me. If someone were to ask me now how I feel about my life, I can probably answer, I'm happy enough, in all sincerity. Staying alive is a good thing in itself, as long as you keep going. Someday you'll find happiness. Someday you'll become useful to someone. The day will come when you earn someone's gratitude. That's why I'm still going. It was my master that gave me the strength of will to believe those things. I close my eyes, inhale deeply, and ask myself the crucial question once more. Can I really do something for Makina like my old master did for me? I looked at those documents in an attempt to understand the thing I wanted to protect, but I was also slightly uneasy that knowing the truth might complicate or weaken my determination. Unfounded worries. I'm not going to give an inch. Not 1 inch. Maybe the real reason I looked over that dossier was to confirm my confidence in myself. There's no problem. Kazami Yuuji can't do everything well, but there's nothing he can't do at all. And if I'm not good at something, I can just take the time to improve. I'm not half bad at that sort of sober effort. Finally reaching this conclusion, I realized that I've been standing still in the hallway for some time, lost in thought. I glanced at the watch on my wrist. The time's 16:57. When 5 in the afternoon approaches, I still can't help thinking, Which direction was the flag again? Old habits really do die hard. I casually look out the window with a wry smile on my face, only to find my classmates approaching the school gate with hoes and small shovels in their hands. Alright, it was gardening class. By nurturing something, you gain confidence in yourself. Taking on a moderate responsibility that leads to visible fruits of your labor helps encourage independence. On top of which, you're making a useful contribution to society. That's the general idea behind the horticulate lessons at Mihama Academy. Of course, we're raising broadly competent individuals with exposure to everything from information technology to agriculture is also a nice line for the brochures. But if you look at it a little differently, this school's sort of like a BBQ joint that also offers sushi and ramen. Feels vaguely shady somehow. They've already finished up their lesson at the farm we borrow for the purpose, and all that's left now is putting away the tools. A little strange for me to join in this late in the game. Still, I make my way toward the front entrance. And that's what we'll take this episode. Sorry it got a little long. It's kind of hard to really get the feeling of these chapters down. I know that in general the chapters are longer in these branching stories than they are in the main story. But I think anywhere between half an hour to about 1 hour is about fine. It's about what I can do, and it's about I can easily do longer, but I feel like pacing myself is also a better way to enjoy this story, this game. So we shall see what Makina learned at the gardening lessons in the next episode. But until then, take care.